you? We're gonna go live. Let me make sure that it's working because I'll try to connect to it from my TV and see that it is definitely good and we're live. So give me a second. Do tell how are you doing and how your Saturday is going while I get this all set up. It is indeed a nice afternoon, and although we've had a bit of an upheaval of energies here, um, you know, there's been a little bit of things going on, stuff to deal with. I am happy that we are able to connect, although we are a little bit late. And we're gonna do some more reading, and we're gonna, whoops, there we go. I think I'm connecting. I heard my own voice on my tablet, so I think that's a good sign. And yeah, so let's see, let me share this on my community tab so that people know we've gone live. And then I'm gonna do a book reading. Hey, hi JR, where are you? We're in Boston. Where are you? We're gonna read from the same book that we read last weekend. We'll actually continue. And I'm also gonna get book ideas from people and see what they would like for us to read. Hi Pavang, how are you? So now, did our share work? If someone could say, sell me your face. My face is in some of the videos. I'm not sure that I would like to show my face today, but certainly my face does exist on some things. It might not be too relevant for our content today. We're gonna chill with some kitty cats and read a book. We actually read this book last weekend. I believe we're on chapter 11 today of this book. Let me show you. It is Mary Higgins Clark and her Every Breath You Take story. So I started reading this book, and a lot of the subscribers kind of enjoyed it, and they wanted me to continue as well. I'll continue reading it. Hi, Shardaben Patel. Hi, good day. How are you? Where are you joining from? Shardaben Patel. Good day. Yes, it is a good day. I certainly hope it will be moving forward. It wasn't super great earlier today. I had to deal with some stuff, but I won't bore you with the details. Do type in the chat how everyone is doing. Amelia, hello from Texas. Hi. Hi. Hello. We are from Boston. We are very happy to see everybody joining. Very nice. Thank you so much. Let me let me get settled with the book and we will certainly start reading. It might be fun. Stay on. And how about you? Thank you for asking. I'm okay, a little tired. I kind of had some trouble sleeping last night. I was dealing with some life things, and that made me kind of get a late start. Usually I go live on Saturday, Sunday around 3 p.m. and I try to already be live by 3 o'clock Eastern Standard. But today I'm a little late. Sorry about that. Tomorrow for sure we'll shoot for the 3 p.m. time for going live. And then actually on Monday I'm quite excited. It's Labor Day, so it's a holiday. So I will go live also on Monday. So tell me how all of that sounds, and I do hope to see you, and I hope that you're able to join on these days, both tomorrow and Monday. Do you have Labor Day off, or do you have school, work? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat. So I know some people actually want me to read and continue what I was reading from last time. If you are, please do stay on the live. It really helps and encourages us to keep going. But if you want to if you want to basically have the book read to you, oh gosh, excuse me, that I was doing last weekend, I actually already read like 10 chapters of this book last weekend on Saturday and Sunday. So those videos are available under the live tab on my channel. So go ahead and check it out later on. But please do stay with us on the live here today and continue to support us, because we really, really appreciate it, and hope to see some of our friends that we've made during these lives in the past. And if you are new, please do introduce yourself. That will be really, really great. I try to keep track of everybody who is on these lives, and I, give a shout out, and we actually get to know each other, and then we keep going. So, and then I love to hear from you again throughout the week when I post my videos and shorts, and the live videos get posted. They come back. Basically, I keep hearing about everyone, how everything is going with them, and I can respond during the week. So, without further ado, perhaps I shall start reading. So, to give a little recap, we were reading about. So let me give you the recap. That's hi, Heike. How are you? It's great to see you here. Thank you for joining. I'm gonna continue reading from the book I was reading last weekend. How does that sound? Does that sound good? Great. Heike says good. Yay, thank you so much. Yeah, so I started doing this as more of a kitty cat live, as well as reading book, kind of like a book club vibe. So if people want, they can even, listen to these later on and catch up with the book, sort of like an audiobook way of doing things. So, chapter 11. Ivan spent the next few minutes trying to describe each of Jenny's family members in a nutshell. By the way, if someone could timestamp the chapters, or like where the reading is happening in the video, maybe just in the chat, that would be actually very useful. Let me actually do that right now. So it's like 4 o'clock, or sorry, not 4 o'clock. Where are we? I'm gonna keep reading. If someone, Heike, if you could timestamp with the chapter name, or where the video, where the live is, and where I'm reading what, that would be most helpful. Thank you so much. Okay, I'll keep continuing. Chapter 11. Ivan spent the next few minutes trying to describe each of Ginny's family members in a nutshell. According to him, Anna was the harder worker of the two children and was more deeply involved in running the company. As much as Anna despised me, I always felt sorry for her. My impression is that Bob always assumed that Carter would be the future leader of the family empire, all because he was the boy and the firstborn. But Carter was the laziest one of the bunch. Anna at least makes an effort. Ginny, of course, knew that Anna had a real head for business, but Anna had this chip on her shoulder that she couldn't get rid of. Sorry, I have to pause because Kitty Cat is making trouble. Hey guys, the Jackson is back. Hey Jackson, how are you? Sorry, I have to set up their food. They're making a lot, they're being very naughty today. Oh my gosh. Here. So I'm reading the same book that I was reading last week, and I'm just continuing from there. It's Every Breath You Take by Mary Higgins Clark. You can also say in the chat if you have a request, like if you want me to read Harry Potter or something else. I know a lot of people like fantasy. I am actually quite willing to take requests. Sorry about the interruption. I had to make sure that their food thing was okay. Hey guys, what book? You should totally read Warrior Cats. Okay. I'm gonna make a note of that. Warrior Cats. Could you also put that in a comment later on when this video gets posted, Jackson? That would be really helpful. And also, if you don't mind, could you timestamp this video or this live when it gets posted to kind of help out the viewers to know where the book reading happens and where I'm just kind of chatting. I would really appreciate this help from you. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, let me keep reading. Thank you, Jackson. Thank you so much. Oh, really appreciate you. Thank you. Whoever killed Ginny was strong, Lori noted, trying not to sound accusatory. Ginny didn't look frail in the photographs I saw of her. Could her daughter really have pushed her over the roof's ledge? He shook his head. Trust me, I know Ginny was strong because I trained her. No, if Anna was involved, she had help. For example, her husband, Peter, Ryan noted. Ivan nodded, and or her brother Carter. Tell me about him, Lori said. He shrugged. He's capable enough, but less serious and more spoiled than his sister. A bit of a playboy. He had a brief marriage in his early 30s, but it only lasted a couple of years. He told Ginny he didn't think he would ever marry again. She was hoping he'd change his mind, but he seemed determined to remain uncommitted. Can you think of any other possible suspects? Lori asked. Hi, Suji. He remained silent. She could tell that he was torn about whether to speak up. We want our investigation. There you go, we're back. We want our investigation to be thorough, Ivan. We don't jump to conclusions. You should probably talk to Penny, Ginny's assistant, Penny Rawling. She was at the Met that night. Ivan nodded. Penny was chomping at the bit to go, but Ginny had not intended to invite her. Most socialites don't include their assistants at that kind of event. Ginny was extremely generous to Penny, too much so, in my opinion. Penny's mother had been Bob's longtime secretary at the firm. When she passed away as Penny was graduating from high school, Bob hired Penny to work for him, and then, out of loyalty, Ginny took her on as her personal assistant after Bob died. Why would Penny kill someone who was so generous to her? Let me read Jackson's message. Hey, I'm sorry I gotta go. I'm leaving to get something to eat, but I'll be here tomorrow. If you do a stream, I'll timestamp it. Thank you, Jackson. Really appreciate you. And we'll be here, so maybe we'll still be here when you're done eating. Yeah, so good seeing you. Thank you so much for joining and for timestamping. Hi, Anand. All right, I'll keep reading. Let me make sure the camera angle is all right. Why would Penny kill someone who was so generous to her? I'm not saying she did. Like I said, I think it's the kids, but Penny could be resentful. She had hoped to work her way up to a more substantial job at Wakeling Development. But it was fairly clear that the family saw her only as an assistant, and not a particularly good one at that. In my opinion, she was unreliable and constantly distracted. She often left early and came in late. Ginny was willing to overlook her shortcomings out of loyalty, but I don't like to see kindness taken advantage of. I spoke to her multiple times about needing to develop a stronger work ethic. It was Ivan's second reference to the importance of a work ethic. If Ivan was telling the truth, he may have had more influence on Ginny's plans to change her will than he was acknowledging or even knew. If Penny hurt her, it's because she thought I would fire her if we got married, cutting her out of the small inheritance she expected to get one day. It wasn't much, $75,000, but it was a lot to Penny. Was Penny strong enough to throw Ginny from that roof? He shook his head. Even weaker than Anna, the girl's a twig, but the distractions I mentioned, she was constantly on the phone with some mystery boyfriend and seemed terribly concerned about her appearance at the gala after lobbying so hard to attend. I got the impression her unknown suitor would be there, but she showed up with one of the older trustees whose husband couldn't come. Ivan's voice became more husky. Man, I hope it wasn't Penny. I don't want to believe I indirectly played a role in Ginny's death by giving her a hard time. Well, it sounds like you don't really it sounds like you don't really think Penny was involved. No, I wouldn't, except for one nagging fact. Penny, more than anyone, saw Ginny and me together. She saw we had something real. Despite the difference in our backgrounds, we were deeply in love. We knew each other, truly knew each other. His gaze drifted away momentarily. It was the first time Laurie believed that this man was mourning Virginia Wakeling. He blinked a few times before speaking again. When the tabloids made me out to be a gold-digging monster, Penny never defended me. She threw me under the bus, saying I had asked Ginny to buy me that Porsche, which totally wasn't true. I never have found an explanation for that. It makes me think she was trying to pin the blame on me, and why would she possibly do that? Laurie was now jotting notes in her pad at a frantic pace. She looked up to see Ryan staring at her. His face said, "I told you so." He had been right. This case was perfect. As soon as they had walked Ivan to the elevator, Ryan looked to her for confirmation. What next? I tried to get the family on board, and I talked to the folks at the Met. Those pieces have to fall into place for this to work. She expected him to invite himself along on both counts, but he simply nodded. She was the producer. He was the host. He had no official role to play until they moved into production. As he turned towards his office, she said, "Ryan, it's a good case. Thanks, and you were right. Going to Brett was a jerk move. It was nice to know they agreed on something. 2 phone calls later, she had a schedule that would please even Brett Young. The head of security at the museum could meet with her after lunch, and much to her surprise, Anna Wakeling's assistant scheduled her for an appointment the following morning. Okay, so that was chapter 11. Jackson, if you are timestamping. Oh, I see some messages from Anand. Hi, Anand. Sorry if I missed your chat. I think I saw that you were asking where I'm from. I'm from Boston, but I grew up in India. And I'm reading a book. So sorry about missing your chat. Okay, Jackson, I'm gonna go on to chapter 12 now in just a second. Let me take a sip of my coffee. Sorry. And if Jackson is not here at the moment, that's okay. Hopefully he'll see the post. It takes a moment, you know, this live replay video might take a few hours to get uploaded onto YouTube, but that's okay. Eventually, it'll be there. Feed your cat. They're fed. Thank you, Blackman. Oh my gosh, thank you, Heike. Yay, thank you so much. August 30 fun. Yes. Thank you so very much. Thank you, thank you. 6 watching. Okay, great. All right, chapter 12. That afternoon, Lori was enjoying life in New York City again as she entered the Metropolitan Museum of Art. She remembered the first time her parents brought her here. They waited until she was in the first grade because they wanted to make sure that she would be able to appreciate it as a special place. Her mother had held her hand and assured her that nothing bad would happen as she approached a mummy in its sarcophagus. She marveled at the suits of armor and mannequin horses in the arms and armor wing. She and her father had replicated the day with Timmy when he was the same age, pausing at the pool in the Temple of Dender to toss in a coin and tell Laurie's mom they wished she was there. As far as Laurie was concerned, this building was one of the most beautiful places in the world. She was asking a security guard at the reception desk for Sean Duncan, the head of security, when a dark-haired man in a pin-stripped suit approached. "That would be me. You must be Miss Moran, right on time. Call me Laurie." He greeted her with a friendly handshake but was otherwise formal in his mannerisms. She noticed that the uniformed security guard stood straighter in his boss's presence. She guessed Duncan must be ex-military. He led the way through the main hall toward the medieval sculpture garden. "My wife is a huge fan of your show. She loves everything crime-related. Am I allowed to tell her we met, or is this a top secret visit?" "Top secret visit." "Sure, but we haven't made a decision yet. I'm just doing research at this point." "Got it." When they arrived at an elevator, she noticed another security guard adjust his posture. "I figured we'd start with the scene of the crime." Laurie had only been to the Met roof when it was open for exhibits during the summer. Today it was closed to the public. The roof was completely empty, providing a pin-quiet view over snow-blanketed Central Park and the surrounding skyline. "Wow, how do you not just live up here?" "There's a reason my office is just over there," he said, gesturing through an adjacent window. He walked to the west edge of the roof and pointed to a spot in the snow below. She was found right there. We had snow on the ground then too. Beyond a waist-high railing, the roof's concrete ledge was thick, lined with low hedges. There was no way a fall could be accidental. A person would either have to jump or be thrown with a great deal of force. Oh my gosh. Let me read that again. Beyond a waist-high railing, the roof's concrete ledge was thick, lined with low hedges. There was no way a fall could be accidental. A person would either have to jump or be thrown with a great deal of force. You were head of security at the time? Second in charge. Got bumped up last year. Congratulations. Did you know Mrs. Wakeling personally? Only to say hello, Mrs. Wakeling, when she was here. She seemed like a nice lady. The director adored her. There was no camera footage of her fall. He shook his head. We conduct our annual camera maintenance on the night of the gala. We turn them off for testing and replacement while the gallery's roof and other non-party spaces are closed to the public for the party. How was Mrs. Wakeling up here if the roof was closed? She was a museum trustee. They're allowed to go wherever they like, whenever they choose. She sensed that Duncan did not approve of the system. Do you know what time she came up here? Our VIPs each have an assigned security guard as their liaison for the party. Mrs. Wakeling's was named Marco Nelson. He said he showed her to the elevator shortly after 9:30, not long after the dinner ended and before the music started. That timeline matched Ivan's. According to Marco, Mrs. Wakeling said she needed fresh air but did not want to go to the front steps. It's an absolute madhouse during the gala, full of paparazzi and celebrity watchers. She asked to come up here, making a point to say she wanted to be alone. Did she say why? No, but Marco said her lips were pursed and she kept looking back toward the party as if something there was upsetting her. Marco had the distinct impression that she'd been in an argument or had some other reason to be unhappy. Did he come upstairs with her? He shook his head again. According to Marco, the last time he saw Mrs. Wakeling was when she was stepping onto the elevator alone. About 10 minutes later, a jogger in the park found her body. Can you believe we had guests complain that we didn't go on with the concert that night? Unfortunately, she could. In Laurie's work as a journalist, she had seen the best and worst of humanity. Is Marco working today? It would be helpful to talk to him. Marco left a couple of years ago to work in private security. He's probably earning 3 times what I make as the boss here, but then again, he doesn't get to spend most of his waking hours in the Met. It's one of my favorite places on earth, Laurie said. My wife said the best present I ever gave her was on our 3rd date. I walked her around the museum after closing. She said she felt like Claudia Kincaid in From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler. The book, about 2 siblings who run away from home and live secretly at the museum, was one of Laurie's favorites as a child. She could tell how much this man loved the museum. You said Marco thought Mrs. Wakeling might have had an argument. Did anyone actually witness her in a dispute that night? Not to my knowledge. Did anything else unusual happen that night? We tried hard to avoid any surprises. But there is one thing. Shortly before Mrs. Wakeling's body was found in the park, an alarm in the galleries was tripped. It was in the display area of the costume exhibit after we had closed it to the partygoers. The guards who responded saw no signs of a problem, but after Mrs. Wakeling's body was found, police speculated that the killer may have set off the alarm to distract us. While we were chasing down a false alarm, someone could have slipped into a staircase and followed Mrs. Wakeling to the roof. Oh, wow. So an alarm in the galleries was tripped. Okay. How did the guests react when they heard the alarm? Laurie asked. The guests didn't know, Sean explained. It was a silent alarm triggered by a motion sensor. The only ones who would have been aware of it were the on-site security personnel. Were you able to determine the whereabouts of Mrs. Wakeling's various friends and family at the time she went up to the roof? By friends, I suspect you mean Ivan Gray specifically. Laurie smiled. I meant anyone who might be relevant. We keep an open mind at under suspicion. I'm not sure I'd say the same of others. Her family was pointing the finger at Mrs. Wakeling's date before the police even arrived. It was quite a scene. But if you're asking whether any one person had an ironclad alibi, I'm not the person to ask. Our priority was keeping the guests calm and managing ingress and egress. The police handled the actual investigation. The lead detective's name was Johnny Hahn. If that helps. It does, thanks. I'll give him a call. We'll also be talking to her children, son in law, and assistant, since they were all there that night. Don't forget the nephew. What nephew? Oh, what was his name? John? No. Tom? That was it. Tom Wakeling. And he made sure to use his last name to finagle 2 tickets to the ball. It happens all the time. People show up saying they're a Kennedy or a Vanderbilt. Turns out they're third cousins. Anyway, I got the impression this kid was a bit of a black sheep. Mrs. Wakeling approved him for the list, but made a point of saying that her table was full because the director and his wife were seated with her. It was obvious she wanted some distance from the nephew. Was he a suspect? I doubt it, but like I said, I wouldn't know. I only mentioned him because you were listing family members. This was the first Lori had heard of Virginia's nephew. She assumed that Ivan was either unaware of the nephew's attendance or did not consider him a suspect. As always seemed to be the case, the number of people she needed to interview was expanding instead of dwindling. She jotted down 2 more names in her notebook, Detective Johnny Hahn and Tom Wakeling. All right, that's the end of chapter 12. If we could please timestamp that as well. Thank you, Heike and Jackson and everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee before I go on to chapter 13. Thank you. How is everyone doing? Jackson, if you're seeing this later on, please timestamp that chapter 12 that I just finished. Thank you so much. All right. I'm going to start chapter 13 now. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Heike. Thank you so much. All right, starting chapter 13. Brasserie Roman was as quiet as Lori had ever seen it when she arrived promptly at 5:30 that evening. Named for the French art deco designer Émilie Jacques Roman, the restaurant evoked a high-end Parisian brasserie, complete with soaring ceilings, red velvet chairs, and crisp white tablecloths. It was also directly downstairs from Fisher Blake Studios, making it one of Laurie's favorite spots. As she shook off her coat and handed it to the hostess, she spotted Charlotte throwing her a small wave from a corner table next to the back bar. They exchanged quick kisses on both cheeks before Laurie took a seat across from her. Charlotte already had a martini on the table. You got here early, Laurie noted. Practically a snow day at Lady Form. I sent out an email last night telling the entire staff to use their discretion about whether to come in. Of course, we got 3 inches instead of 9, and half the office stayed home anyway. Laurie's friend Charlotte ran the New York City operations of her family's business. Under Charlotte's watch, Lady Form had grown from a manufacturer of ladies' foundational garments to a brand renowned for its high-end athletic clothes. Fuji. Hi, Fuji. Oh, my baby. Laurie had met Charlotte after featuring the disappearance of Charlotte's younger sister on an episode of Under Suspicion. After production ended, Charlotte invited Lori to lunch, and the two had become fast friends. Lori ordered a white wine instead of joining Charlotte in a martini, and then listened as her friend vented about a fabric supplier who decided to add another 5% of lycra to a product without notifying her. I've got 10,000 bolts of the stuff. I made up one sample garment to see how it worked. The pants looked like Olivia Newton-John's in the final scene of Grease. Lori pictured the iconic skin-tight, shiny black leggings. Maybe you'll start a new trend? Sure, if disco makes a sudden comeback. She waved a hand, whisking the stress away. I'll get them to replace it, just a headache, that's all. Oh hey, don't let me forget this. She reached into her bag, pulled out a heavy book, and handed it to Lori. First Ladies of Fashion was emblazoned in glossy letters on the front jacket. I forgot I had it until I got off the phone with you. When Charlotte had called Lori to suggest an impromptu drinks date, Lori had been leaving the museum and mentioned that she was looking into the Virginia Wakeling case. She was surprised when Charlotte told her that she had been at the gala that night. Apparently, Lady Form purchased a table each year to support the museum's Costume Institute and to help equate the Lady Form brand with fashion as well as function. Lori flipped through the pages of the coffee table book, published to commemorate the exhibit being celebrated the night Virginia Wakeling died. It was printed before that night, Charlotte explained, so it won't have any mention of the death, but I thought you might be able to use it somehow. Sean Duncan had said it would be possible for Lori to film at the Met, but of course they wouldn't be able to replicate the actual fashion exhibit. Jerry could work wonders, however, with still photographs. She assumed they could request high-resolution versions of any images she wanted to use. The book had hundreds to choose from. This is great, Charlotte. Thanks. I wish I knew more about the actual case. Charlotte had already explained that she had been in the ladies' room when she heard murmurs from her other partygoers about a woman who had fallen. Her table was nowhere near the prestigious seating enjoyed by Virginia Wakeling. In short, she had no first-hand knowledge related to the investigation. Otherwise, I could have been the first person in history to appear on your show more than once, other than Alex, of course. Speaking of Alex, I saw him 2 nights ago at the Bronx Academy of Letters benefit. Charlotte had invited Lori to take one of the seats at Lady Form's table for the event, a fundraiser for a public school in the poorest congressional district in the country. Unfortunately, the event had conflicted with taking Timmy to jazz at Lincoln Center. Once again, Lori needed a clone. How did he seem? Lori asked, trying not to sound overly curious. He seemed fine. Lori could tell that Charlotte was holding something back. Did he say something about me? Oh, strike that from the record. I sound like a 12-year-old. It didn't really come up. We just said hello, and he introduced me as having met him through Under Suspicion. She wrinkled her nose as if she realized she had let something slip. He introduced you to whom? Carrie Linden. Lori recognized the name. She was a news anchor for the local CBS affiliate. Long blonde hair, big blue eyes, impeccably dressed in front of the camera at all times. Lori had a sudden image of Carrie Linden standing next to Alex, the two of them looking perfect together. They weren't together though. I noticed in the program that they were both listed on the auction committee. I think they were just greeting guests. Or, alternatively, Carrie had been Alex's +1 for the evening. Until he had started dating Lori, Alex had been a staple on the social pages of the newspapers, always accompanied by an accomplished woman known in her own right. Did you hear the news? Lori asked, not wanting to speak any longer about Alex's date for the benefit. He is being named to the federal bench. Wow. The Honorable Judge Alex Buckley. It's got a nice ring to it. Is he totally psyched? Lori shook her head. I have no idea. I read it in a New York Times alert this morning. Charlotte reached across the table and placed a hand on Lori's. Sweetie, I'm so sorry. I just assumed you'd hear about the appointment from him. I know you two are on a break, but I figured something as big as that. Her voice trailed off. Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's had passed without a word between them, other than an exchange of mailed holiday cards and the delivery of a new video game as a Christmas gift for Timmy. Why would he have reached out to tell her that he was finally getting his dream job? Charlotte was looking at her with an expression that approached pity. I never should have mentioned seeing him at the benefit. Laurie feigned a smile. I promise, Charlotte, you have nothing to apologize for. Alex is free to share his company with other women. We're not together. Charlotte paused, sensing that Laurie was putting on a brave face, but then changed the subject to an upcoming fashion segment she had planned for the Today Show the following week. The moment had passed without further emotion, but inside, Laurie's heart was sinking. Aww, poor Laurie. All right, that's the end of chapter 13. Thank you, my friend, for time-stamping Heike and Jackson. I'm going to take another sip before I start chapter 14, but I just finished chapter 13. All right. This is fun. Excuse me. All right, chapter 14. Wait, let me give a little hug to my Fuji baby first. Give me 1 second. Fuji, hi baby, how are you? Are you able to relax? I know Mama's reading and a little bit busy, but why don't you come and sit on my lap? Fuji. Fuji. Do you want to come and sit on Mama's lap? Oh, thank you, Heike. August 31, 2024. Chapter 13. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Fuji, do you want to come and sit on Mama's lap? Come, baby. Come, baby. Yes. 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 Good job, Fuji Bablu. Oh. Oh. Oh, my babies. He's giving kiss to Suji now. Oh. Alright. Chapter 14. The following morning, Laurie arrived to find Grace already at her desk, even though it was well before 9. Oh my gosh, I read that as hell. Even though it was well before 9, Grace's makeup was flawless, as usual, but today she wore her long, shiny black hair in a tight bun at the nape of her neck. Instead of one of her standard clingy dresses, she had on a bright green silk blouse tucked into wide-legged black pants. You look like you're going on a job interview. You're not quitting on me, are you? Laurie asked. She couldn't imagine losing Grace. I'm toning down my look for a change. My sister said people would take me more seriously. We'll see. Laurie felt a pang of guilt. It had never dawned on her that Grace, one of the most confident people she knew, worried about how she was perceived by others. Before she could say anything, Jerry arrived for their scheduled status conference to discuss the next edition of the series. Are we ready? He asked. Let's do it, Laurie said. Jerry began by running down the items they could already check off their to-do list. He was working with the museum's legal department so they could film on site. You'd think we were filming at the Vatican with all these hoops, but it's manageable. I'm more worried about getting the Wakeling family on board. What do they have to gain? I have the same concerns, Lori said. It's only been a few years and it's clear that Ivan's still the number one suspect. If they realize Ivan has a personal connection to Ryan, they'll never trust us. Lori was reminded once again how much she wished Alex had never left. But Brett made it clear that this is our next case as long as we get at least one member of the family to participate. I can't stand the idea of telling him that I struck out. So then we won't let that happen, Jerry said confidently. His phone buzzed against the coffee table and he checked the screen. Perfect timing. The car is here. Their appointment with Ginny's daughter, Anna Wakeling, was in 20 minutes. Lori noticed a shadow fall across Grace's face as she headed back to her desk. She thought about what Ivan Gray had said about Ginny's assistant, Penny. She was loyal but felt unappreciated. Lori realized that Jerry had ascended from an intern fetching coffee to being a valued part of the production team. Grace, however, remained in the same position. Can you join us, Grace? Lori asked. You always have a good read on people. Grace's smile was infectious. Absolutely. Yay. Oh, poor Grace. 1 second. Sorry. All right, that was chapter 14. I know, very short. Moving to chapter 15 next. Chapter 14 done. I got myself a pillow so that I can be more comfortable. Hi, Key, my friend. We just finished chapter 14, very short. I'm about to start chapter 15 now of Every Breath You Take. The offices of Wakeling Development occupied 2 floors of a converted warehouse in Long Island City, overlooking the East River. As they waited in the reception area, Lori realized that she could see Alex's apartment across the water. She wondered whether he was home or at his office, or maybe in court or in a meeting. She remembered when they used to talk on the phone every single night about nothing in particular if they didn't see each other in person. The appearance of a young woman through a set of double doors pulled her from her memories. They're waiting in the conference room for you, she offered. Neither a name nor a handshake, and began leading them down a long hallway. You're not Penny Rolling, are you? Lori didn't know yet where Virginia's personal assistant had landed after Virginia's death. Jerry, the resident social media researcher, had located a Facebook profile for Penny Rolling in Astoria, but her page had the highest privacy settings available. No access to photos, posts, or background information unless you were a Facebook friend of hers. The woman who greeted them appeared confused by the question and explained that no, her name was Kate. She walked them into a luxurious conference room with a marble table and white leather chairs. A row of 3 people flanked one side of the table, the lone woman stationed in the center. Lori recognized her from media reports as Virginia's daughter, Anna. She had shoulder-length honey blonde hair and wore a perfectly tailored navy blue sheath dress and 4-inch nude heels. On one side of her was her husband, Peter Browning, whom the media described as a brilliant but quiet lawyer who quickly became a trusted member of the Wakeling family once he married the beloved daughter Anna. On her other side stood her older brother Carter. He was now 41 years old based on Lori's count, but his appearance was boyish. His sandy blonde hair was tousled. He had remnants of a tan even though it was January, and according to the social pages, he was still very much a busy bachelor. I am Anna Wakeling, she said. I'm Anna Wakeling. She still used her maiden name, Lori noticed, and she barely bothered to introduce the men at the table with her. I appreciate your coming out to Long Island City to meet. So many Manhattanites refuse to cross a bridge or tunnel. Laurie made a point to admire the view from the corner windows. I remember when this area was primarily industrial. I can see why your father was so proud of the mark he made. Which is exactly why our company is still located here. Daddy would have never wanted us to leave. Laurie already knew from her phone conversation with Anna that she was familiar with Under Suspicion. Laurie had also explained that their show was interested in reinvestigating the circumstances leading to Anna's mother's death. Once they were all seated, Laurie steered the conversation to the subject of the family's primary suspect. Our understanding is that your family was of a single mind when it came to Ivan Gray. Anna answered immediately, "That man murdered our mother. End of story." "Yet the police have made no arrest," Laurie said. "Didn't he have more to gain from marrying your mother than harming her?" Anna waved a dismissive hand. "Please," she said. "They'd get married when the time was right. But my mother was never going to marry him. He was a phase, a distraction." Laurie couldn't help but notice that both Carter and Peter were deferring to Anna. I hate to say this, but we were embarrassed for her, running around town with this boy toy on her arm. She was old enough to be his mother. Our understanding is that their engagement was imminent. There was even a ring, which my mother paid for, I'm sure," Anna said, "and which she did not wear, at least not in public. I'm sure she enjoyed being seen with him, but it was a dalliance. And Ivan knew it. That's why he stole that money to start his ridiculous gym. When I think about how my father would have reacted, I even told her Daddy's the one who worked for this money. He would be destroyed if he could see the way you're spending it." She shook her head at the memory. That was the day before she died. Her husband Peter reached over and touched Anna's hand to comfort her. "Mr. Browning," Laurie began. "Call me Peter." "Okay, and I'm Laurie. My understanding is that your mother-in-law trusted you when it came to her personal finances. Did she speak to you about her plans when it came to Ivan?" "Well, as a family member, I can tell you that she assured all of us that she was not supporting him financially. She said Ivan had his own working man's income, that she only supplemented in modest ways, and that she would never allow another man to get his hands on the money earned by Anna and Carter's father. So, of course, it came as a complete shock when... Sorry, I'm looking to make sure that the camera is okay. So, of course, it came as a complete shock when we learned about all that money going into his business. Laurie noticed that Anna's brother Carter was nodding in agreement, but did not seem to be following the conversation closely. "Peter, you made a point to note that you were speaking as a family member. Weren't you also the executor of her estate? Surely she must have talked to you about her plans in the event she got married. Was she going to change her will?" According to Ivan, Virginia was planning to make drastic reductions to her family's inheritance. Now, I need to replace my family member hat with my lawyer hat. That question is clearly covered by attorney-client privilege, which survives Virginia's death. Laurie noticed that Peter used the more formal name that Virginia's husband, Bob, had preferred. But Anna and Carter, you are not covered by an attorney's privilege. They both shrugged, but seemed to share a knowing glance. "I'm telling you, Miss Moran," Anna said. "Ivan Gray embezzled hundreds of thousands of dollars from our mother and then killed her when he realized that she was onto him. The security guard who led her up to the roof said she was upset. She'd clearly had an argument. It's only a matter of time before Ivan slips and says the wrong thing to the wrong person, and then the police will swoop in for an arrest. Did you see your mother arguing with Ivan or anyone else that night? Once again, both men looked to Anna for guidance. Lori wished she had been able to question them separately, but unlike a police officer, she could not control the circumstances under which she met her witnesses. Anna shook her head. We're too honest. We're too honest to fabricate evidence. But there's no doubt in my mind it was Ivan. Every time I see an ad for his stupid boxing gym, I want to punch something myself. What about Penny Rolling? Lori asked. As your mother's assistant, she was certainly in a position to see her and Ivan interact regularly. An awkward silence fell over the table. And this time, Carter was the one to answer first. The cat is suffering. Okay. Ah, I see. Let's see. All right. Yay. Also, if someone would like to be a moderator, I will greatly appreciate that. Okay. An awkward silence fell over the table, and this time Carter was the one to answer first. We created a job for her as a billing clerk after Mom passed, but it didn't work out. I heard she was starting business classes at Hunter College, but she hasn't stayed in touch with the family. And what about your cousin Tom? Lori asked. We're told that he was also at the gala that night and was a bit of the black sheep in the family. Carter let out a knowing laugh. Boy, was he. For a while, he made me look like a Rhodes Scholar by comparison. That's all in the past now, Anna said abruptly. Tom has matured tremendously. He works here at the company with us now, handling office leases. Despite his sister's serious tone, Carter was still chuckling to himself. Remember how annoyed Mom was that Tom used the Wakeling name to land tickets that night? She said, thank God I was able to tell him in all honesty that our table was already full. Even Peter and Anna were smiling at Carter's impersonation of their mother's precise diction. Even Peter and Anna were smiling at Carter's impersonation of their mother's precise diction. And Tiffany, his embarrassing date, Anna added. Carter burst out laughing. The two of them stuck out like sore thumbs. Everyone could hear Tiffany talking at the top of her lungs about her walkie grandmother, the retired cabaret dancer. She swore a series of U.S. presidents fell in love with her grandmother, but John Kennedy was her favorite. At least she showed good taste there. The laughter grew and then subsided as Anna shifted back to business mode, but with a slightly less stilted tone now. Anyway, Cousin Tom is a changed man. He's a trusted family member and colleague. She looked directly at Carter as she spoke. She's sending her brother a message, Lori thought. Cousin Tom is a trusted family member, but then why wasn't he invited to this meeting? Suddenly, Anna was standing, her attention already drifting to the cell phone in her hand. I appreciate your coming out here, Lori, but I'm afraid we have another meeting scheduled. Lori was caught off guard. I was hoping to talk to you about participating in Under Suspicion. I'm sure, but we'd prefer to wait for the police to complete their investigation before a television show begins poking around. Lori had come here thinking that she only needed to get one family member on board to be able to move forward with production, but it was clear that Anna was running the show for all of them and had made up her mind before the meeting ever began. Whether you participate or not, we'll still be quote-unquote poking around. She did not relish the idea of going forward without them, but had a feeling that Brett Young would give her no choice. Grace surprised Lori by suddenly handing a file from her giant purse to Peter before he could stop her. Let us just leave the paperwork with you so you can mull it over. In the interests of full disclosure, you should know that Ivan Gray's got some strong opinions about your family, and I've got to say the three of you were a lot nicer in person than he made you sound. Jerry looked as if he wanted to pull Grace from the room, but Grace wasn't finished. I'm just a secretary, but if it were me, I wouldn't want a man like that talking about me on national television without getting in my side of the story. When the assistant named Kate arrived to escort them back to the lobby, Anna Wakeling's face was white as a sheet. Ah! Oh my gosh. Let me read that again. Jerry looked as if he wanted to pull Grace from the room, but Grace wasn't finished. I'm just a secretary, but if it were me, I wouldn't want a man like that talking about me on national television without getting in my side of the story. When the assistant named Kate arrived to escort them back to the lobby, Anna Wakeling's face was white as a sheet. Oh my god. Alright, that was chapter 15. Just finished chapter 15 now. Heike. How are we doing? Oh my god. This is fun. I like how she writes. Mary. So we just finished chapter 15. We'll move on to chapter 16 in just a second here. I'll let Heike do the time stamping. And/or Jackson. Oh, yay! Thank you so much. Thank you. Awesome. And Heike, you're in Finland, right? So you're putting in the time in Finland, which is also pretty exciting. Thank you. All right, I'm about to start chapter 16. They broke into an analysis of the final minutes of the meeting the second they stepped into the elevator. Jerry said, Grace, I think you shook Anna to her core. I wondered if the woman was going to faint. Her skin went as pale as her mother's. Grace was fanning her face with her hands as if she were on fire. I'm so sorry, I was just acting on impulse. It seemed like we were about to lose them. Lori placed a reassuring hand on Grace's forearm. What you said was absolutely correct. It is in their interest to present their side of the story. But no offense, Lori, Jerry said. It can sound intimidating when it comes from the boss. Grace, I loved it when you said, gee, I'm just a secretary. He pressed one finger into his cheek to mimic a child's dimple. Then boom, you lowered the hammer. You really don't want this man talking about you on national television. You rattled them for sure. The elevator came to a halt and they stepped out into the lobby. Fingers crossed, Grace said, crossing two dark red fingernails. Her smooth, heart-shaped face was shining with pride. Lori noticed two men in the lobby halt their conversation to check out Grace. One, carrying a takeout bag from Chipotle, rushed to catch the elevator doors before they closed. His friend waved. Talk to you later, Tom. Lori reached behind her with one hand, holding the doors open for the man named Tom. Are you Tom Wakeling by any chance? Yeah, he said, squinting at her, trying to figure out if he should recognize her. With dark, wavy hair and short facial stubble, he bore no obvious resemblances to his fairer cousins, but he shared Anna's high cheekbones and Carter's long nose. Without losing eye contact with Tom, Laurie said quietly to Grace, If you have an extra participation agreement, let me have it. Grace quickly slipped the papers out of her tote bag and into Laurie's hand. The elevator began to buzz and Laurie hopped into the car on impulse. I'll meet you guys out front, she said, leaving Jerry and Grace behind in the lobby. Tom, I'm Laurie Moran. Alright, that was chapter 16. I know, short. Chapter 16, short and sweet, done now. Timestamp, please, my friend. Hi, Fuji. Hi. 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 All right. We got that, chapter 16 done. All right. I'm going to start chapter 17 now. Laurie was grateful that the other Wakelings were in whatever meeting they had, either scheduled or fabricated to have an excuse to cut short their conversation with her. Now they were nowhere in sight. She followed Tom to a small office, cluttered with files and notebooks. It had a window view, but she imagined the other family members in much more luxurious workspaces based on her fleeting glimpse of the conference room. It didn't take long for Laurie to explain why she was there. Now that Under Suspicion was a hit show, she didn't even need to lay out the nature of her work. She stretched the truth a bit by saying she had just met with his cousins Carter and Anna to work out the details of their participation in the next special. I assume you'll be willing to sit down with us too? He shrugged. Yeah, no problem. Trying to appear nonchalant, she handed him a copy of their standard participation agreement. While he skimmed the document's contents, she asked how long he had been working at the company. Yay, thank you. Thank you, Heike. Oh, thank you so much for adding the Boston time. I do appreciate it so much. Thank you. It's actually really cool that we have both Finland and Boston time on here. Thank you so very much. Thank you, thank you. Really appreciate you for time stamping. Thank you so much. All right, continuing chapter 17. 2 years as of this last Halloween, he said, dashing off his signature and returning the completed form to her. That would have been less than a year after Virginia Wakeling's death. Laurie had read in Robert Wakeling's New York Times obituary that he had started the business with his brother Kenneth, but had assumed sole responsibility over operations by the time Long Island City parking lots were being replaced by high-end luxury loft apartments. She asked Tom about the family history. God bless both Dad and Uncle Bob. He made the sign of the cross. But if there is a lesson to be learned from that chapter in the Wakeling saga, it's family first. They let the business get between them. He sounded melancholy as he described how the two brothers shared a dream as young men to develop a pocket of land just beyond Manhattan into a thriving modern neighborhood. But when their dream hadn't yet come to fruition, after 5 years of work, Tom's father, Ken, grew impatient. Bob's forte was construction. Ken was the architect in the family. My father really was an artist at heart, while Bob was a natural businessman. Dad's artistic side needed to work on other projects, so Uncle Bob bought Dad out of the business, basically paying him the land's purchase price. Dad was grateful for the return of his investment so he could move on to more reliable jobs as an architect, and his brother kept plugging away at their dream. For a while, everything was fine, then all of the pieces of their Long Island City plan began finally to fall into place like dominoes. It was a plan that would lead to a $200 million fortune for Robert Wakeling. Your uncle didn't find a way of splitting some of it with your father? Laurie asked. Nope, he said. Dad made his decision. He quit, and Uncle Bob didn't. Like I said, he was all business. That couldn't have been easy for your father to accept, Laurie said. He shook his head. My senior year of high school, he sold our apartment in an Upper East Side high-rise and moved us to the West Side because he couldn't stand the sight of Long Island City on the other side of the river. And yet here you are, working at Wakeling Development. My father died a year before Uncle Bob, also of a heart attack. I swear, I think they'd both still be alive if they had made peace with each other. Personally, I could always see both of their sides in the feud. Dad thought Uncle Bob cut him out of a fortune, while Uncle Bob thought Dad bailed on their dream and shouldn't be rewarded for it. But you weren't some neutral third party, Laurie said. One of these men was your father, not to mention you had to watch while your aunt, uncle, and cousins became extremely wealthy people. Carter and Anna stepped right into the family business straight out of college. You only landed here a couple of years ago. Honestly, I didn't resent them for it one bit. At that point, I had jobs bartending at nightclubs, and life was a party. I told myself I was having fun. Oh, Fuji. Hi, Fuji. Hi. Oh, Fuji, you're so cute. Oh, Fuji, you're so cute. And now things are different? Laurie asked. Clearly, he said, gesturing at the stacks of documents around his office. If I had to pinpoint the moment it all crystallized for me, I think it was that night of the Met Gala, to tell you the truth. Because of your aunt's death? No. Although obviously that was horrible, I was at the museum surrounded by the rich and famous. I saw the way my aunt and cousins were treated there, almost like royalty. Meanwhile, I knew I only got in because of my name. They were hobnobbing with celebrities and members of the board of trustees, and I was sneaking around the portraits gallery like a kid playing hide and seek with some ridiculous woman. We were complete fish out of water. Your cousins mentioned you had a rather colorful guest with you that night. Ah, Tiffany Simon, he said, smiling. Although absolutely gorgeous and a ton of fun, but a complete wacko. That was our second date, as I recall. I saw her a few more times after that, but then I finally realized she loved drama. Every moment of life was like a scene in a play that she was writing as she went along. Get this, she would introduce herself to a stranger as a princess from some fictional island just to entertain herself. It was exhausting. Anyway, running around the gala with her that night while she was drinking too much and telling insane stories about Granny the lover, I felt ashamed of myself in comparison to the rest of the family. I decided right then and there I was going to talk to my aunt and cousins to see if they had any advice for me to put my life on a different track. And then your aunt died. Talk about surreal. It was a wake-up call. I realized life is short. Suddenly we were the next generation of Wakelings. I waited several months before approaching Anna and Kata for a job, but when I did, they welcomed me with open arms. Do you mind if I ask where your mother is in all of this? Florida. After Dad died, it was going to be hard for her to keep up with expenses in New York. She sold the apartment and got a condo in Naples. She visits at least twice a year. I think she's happy that the cousins and I were able to pull the family back together, even if it was too late for Dad and Bob to see. It was a happy ending to the Wakeling family story. But something about it didn't ring true to Lori. Tom had to have resented his cousins for hoarding the largest of Wakeling development for themselves, even after their father had passed away. Carter and Anna hadn't built that company any more than Tom had, and yet they were treated like royalty, as he described it, while he was a fish out of water. He might have indeed decided right then and there at the museum to turn his life around. He may not have even waited for the gala to be over. She pictured Tom pulling his aunt aside for advice. Virginia would have been distracted, focusing on the party and her mingling with other benefactors of the museum. She could have told him it wasn't the proper time or place, or maybe she rebuffed him outright. Laurie could almost hear Virginia Wakeling speaking from the grave, as if she were standing in the room with them. You're even less dedicated than your father, with none of his talent. Too little, too late. Tom might have continued to make his case, or maybe he said something worse. You never worked a day in your life, Aunt Virginia, and now you're squandering your money on a gold digger. Virginia would have been upset. She would have gone to her security guard, Marco, asking to go up to the roof for fresh air. Laurie imagined Tom watching his aunt step into the elevator. She could see him tripping the alarm in the exhibit and then slipping into a staircase when the guards weren't watching. Knock it off, she told herself. You were ready to decide that Ivan was the killer before you met him. Now you're about to prejudge Tom because he sounds too good to be true. Don't get ahead of yourself. Well, thank you very much for your time, Tom, she said, forcing a warm smile. I'll be in touch when we start planning our production schedule. I'm happy to go along with whatever my family wants me to do. Jerry and Grace were waiting in the back of the black SUV that would return them to Manhattan. We have good news, Jerry said, looking excitedly toward Grace as Laurie climbed into the car. You tell her. You're the one who did it. Grace was smiling from ear to ear. Anna's assistant called Jerry 5 minutes ago. Apparently Anna, Peter, and Carter all agreed to participate in the show. Jerry said, she specifically mentioned they didn't want a liar like Ivan Gray to present his side of the story on national television without a counterpoint, pretty much quoting Grace word for word. Nice work, Grace, Laurie said, offering her a quick high five. We can add Tom's agreement to the collection. She handed Grace the document Tom had signed. So how did things go? Jerry asked. Get any dirt? Maybe, he says, it's all love and happiness between him and the cousins, but I'm not so sure. The only thing of which Laurie was certain was that their list of alternative suspects had just grown by one. Whew, whew. All right, that was the end of chapter 17. Oh my gosh, this is quite something. That was the end of chapter 17 of Every Breath You Take. I think I'm gonna do one more, and then I'll continue tomorrow. I'll do one more chapter, and then I'll continue tomorrow. Thank you, Heike, for doing all the timestamps. Thank you so much. Sorry, let me get a drink. Thank you so much, Heike. Yay. Chapter 17. Alright. Chapter 18 starting now. When they returned to the office, Laurie invited Grace to join her and Jerry in her office for lunch, wanting to reward her for the work she had done that morning at Wakeling Development. Grace offered to stay as if Grace offered to stay if she was needed, but said that otherwise she had taken Ivan Gray up on his offer for a free training session at Punch. Lori wasn't sure how to feel about Grace spending time outside of work with Ivan. On the one hand, the entire reason they had this case was because of Ryan's personal connection to Ivan. So Lori felt like a hypocrite for telling Grace she couldn't go. On the other hand, she was protective of Grace, and Ivan was still the most likely suspect in the murder of Ginny Wakeling. Lori was still trying to figure out what to say when Jerry blurted out a response. "Are you crazy, Grace? That man's probably a murderer." Lori thinks the nephew Tom did it. I think no such thing, Grace." "I know," she said. "I'm just so impatient. Whenever we start a new special, all I want is to know who did it. Dealing day by day with this long list of people, not knowing who's dangerous." She shuddered. "It gives me the creeps." She was tucking a water bottle into the gym bag that had been stashed beneath her desk. "Rest assured, I won't be working out with Ivan. I told him that to avoid any appearance of a conflict of interest, I needed to train with someone other than him." Fuji. "A nice woman named Tanya is meeting me in 10 minutes. I'm told she knocked out a 250-pound man cold last year when he tried to grab her purse on the F train. I think we'll be fast friends." As they watched Grace walk away, Lori said to Jerry, "If Grace becomes best friends with her boxing instructor, I bet she'll find out what Tanya thinks of Mr. Ivan Gray." Now the takeout containers from their lunch had been cleared. An egg salad sandwich for Lori, and grilled salmon and asparagus for Jerry, who was torturing himself with a 30-day cleanse consisting of nothing but vegetables and lean protein. Fuji. It's okay, Fuji. It's okay. Oh my gosh. Give me 1 second. They need a snack. 1 second. Let me give them their snack. In fact, let me change their water real quick as well. Sorry about the interruption. Babies. They were hungry, but they're hungry all the time. They're hungry a lot. Poor babies. Poor babies. All right, let me continue. They were at her office conference table poring over the book that Charlotte had given Lori from the Fashion of First Ladies exhibit. They had already marked at least 50 photographs with post-it notes, making a point to draw equally from Democratic and Republican First Ladies. "I'm worried we won't be able to recreate the excitement of the Met Gala from still photographs," Lori said, but obviously it's impossible to go back and replicate the exhibit. The museum had agreed to let them film on the rooftop, in the main hall, and in the temple room where the banquet tables had been set up, but they did not have free reign of the building, let alone access to all of the pieces that had been lent to the museum by the various presidential estates and libraries to create the exhibit. So actually I'm going to unplug this because they just got their extra snack and I don't want them eating the extra one because they got some manual ones from me. Are you kidding? Jerry exploded. These photos are stunning, and I'm sure the publisher still has high-res versions. We can also license video footage from the red carpet. I already cut 2 great clips of Mrs. Wakeling hugging Barbara Streisand and exchanging cheek kisses with Beyoncé. She looked so happy. There, I have a light on. I have a light on. Sorry about the video changes. She looked so happy and then she was dead a few hours later. I know we try not to let emotion affect us, but this one really gets under my skin. I look at Virginia and I think of my own mom, the way she finally got to focus on herself after the kids all flew the coop. It's like she spent her whole life as a moth and then became a butterfly. Jerry had a point. They had dealt with cases involving much younger victims than Virginia, but hers was also a life cut way too short. She had just started her life over again. Hi! Hi, Madeline. How are you? We're reading a book. We're reading this book. Let me finish this chapter. Lori heard a tap on her open office door and turned to see Brett Young. Brett, I barely recognized you out of your natural habitat. Brett was the type who beckoned others to his turf. He did not roam the hallways. He shot a glance at a band on his right wrist. Julie has me wired up to this contraption. If I don't make my goal of 10,000 steps a day, I'll never hear the end of it. If anyone stood a chance of altering Brett Young's behavior, it was his wife, Julie. Where do things stand on your next special? For once, Lori had an answer that would please even her difficult boss. We're all set. The entire Wakeling family's on board. Jerry's working out details about filming at the museum, but we'll be fine on that front. I'm meeting with the detective in charge of the homicide investigation once I finish up here with Jerry. And Ivan's coming in this afternoon to sign his participation agreement. Madeline says, I like Demon Slayer. All right. We can read that. Brett rubbed his palms together. Now, that's what I'm talking about. I hate to say it, Lori, but I think your little rivalry with Ryan has put a perk in your step. I should have hired someone to get on your nerves years ago. There's absolutely no need to hire anyone else for that, Brett, she said. Okay, Ms. Moran, I get it. Start putting together a schedule. Once Brett was out of earshot, Jerry impersonated Brett's impenetrable scowl. Can't you tell how happy I am, Lori? Hope you can stick to your schedule this time. Be careful. I wouldn't be surprised if he has hidden cameras in every room. We'll see how long we can keep him happy. Notice I didn't mention Penny Rowling. They still hadn't found contact information for Virginia's former personal assistant. I only gave him the good news. Well, Carter mentioned she may have registered for classes at Hunter College. I have a call in to a friend who works in their computer department. It's illegal for him to disclose information from academic records. Well, forget I said anything then, Jerry said innocently. Flipping to another page of the fashion book, isn't this picture amazing? There will probably never be a first lady as graceful as Jacqueline Kennedy. On display for the exhibit was a crisp white cotton dress with cap sleeves and a full pleated skirt. The dress was draped on a mannequin, paired with a single strand of pearls, a silver charm bracelet, and nude ballet flats. The dress is awfully simple for an art exhibit, Lori noted. I could find something like it in a department store today. That's the point. Classic. Plus, look at her in it. She was so beautiful. Behind the mannequin was a wall sized black and white photograph of President and Mrs. Kennedy on a front porch, a young Carolyn on the president's lap, holding a small stuffed giraffe. According to the book's text, the photograph was taken the summer of 1960 at the Kennedy compound in Hyannisport, Massachusetts. Ooh, that's right. Kennedy is from this area, Boston area. According to the book's text, the photograph was taken the summer of 1960 at the Kennedy compound in Hyannisport, Massachusetts, just after the couple had announced Jacqueline's pregnancy with John Jr. What an iconic photograph. Can we please use this one for production? My grandmother used to have pictures of JFK and Jackie in her den and said how different the course of history could have been. It would be like a little tribute to her. Of course, Jerry, that's a wonderful idea. Smiling, he marked with a star the post-it note that had already been tacked to the page. You know what else would be a good idea? If you left for your meeting with Detective Hun, you and your father are supposed to be in Harlem in 30 minutes. All right, that was the end of chapter 18. Hi, Madeline. How are you doing? I think we'll pick up chapter 19 from tomorrow. We'll go live again tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Boston time. So I think we will continue then. It's been lovely to read for you. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And thank you so much, Heike, for doing all these timestamps of the chapters and my reading. Thank you so much, Jackson, if you see this later. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Heike. Jackson and or Heike, maybe you can make sure that the timestamps are also appearing in the comments. So this is the live stream. It'll get posted under my live tab as a video. If we could also have the timestamps in the comments there, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you. You're a big help. Thank you, Madeline, for joining. How have you been? I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. I haven't seen you in forever, Madeline. I like the emojis you sent with the kitty cat coming out of the box. In Demon Slayer, my favorite character is Muchiro. Okay, I have to make a note. So Madeline, can you put Demon Slayer in the comments of this video later on when it gets posted so that I remember to read that book as well. And we're going to be going live again tomorrow around the same time, 3 p.m. Boston time. And thank you. Thank you, Madeline. And then we're also going to be going live same time on Monday because Monday's a holiday here in the US. It's Labor Day. And then I have work. And then I will be going live again next weekend. So, yeah. And then, guys, I have a bit of an announcement. I'm actually going to be taking a break from full-time working later on in September. And so after September 20, I'm actually going to be going live a lot more. And I'll do a lot more reading and kitty cat videos and writing. I also have a blog. So I'll post more there and do more content. I'm taking a break from my full-time job for some time starting September 20. So until September 20, I'm still working there and, you know, I'm able to go live on the weekend and on holidays. But after September 20, I'm actually taking a break. So I can go live a lot more. Yep. Madeline says, I have school on Monday. Yes, I know. You can watch the live stream video when it posts later on. You can still say hi in the comments. The video will get uploaded within a few hours of our live stream. So you can still catch us that way. But that's okay. If you have school and you miss it, that's no problem. You can see it later. But I wanted to just let you know that I will be on here a lot more. And I can cover a lot more reading and do a lot more content. And appreciate whenever you join and whenever you post in the comments. And sorry about being a little late today. I usually start around 3 p.m. Today I got a little late and so I stayed on a little later. Thank you for the reading. Here it is now September 1st. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Heike. Thank you. Good night. Yes, happy September 1st. I hope you have a great night. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining and all your hard work. Timestamping the live. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ooh, I forgot to do the clips today. But yeah, we'll go live again tomorrow around 3. And see everyone then. Thank you, Madeline. Hugs to you as well. Let's actually go over to Baji and sorry about my coughs. See how Baji's doing. Hi, Baji. Baji's taking a lot of naps today. He has been tired. He has been tired. He's been tired. Baji. Oh, Baji, Baji. Oh, Baji, Baji. Baji has had a long day and night. So, say hi to Madeline, Baji. Say hi to everyone. Say thank you for joining. Sorry we were late. We'll be on time so that it doesn't get too late in Finland. Baji. 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 Is a little kitty cat. He is. He is. He's a little kitty cat. Yeah, he's a little kitty cat. Baji has been napping with my book reading the whole time he was napping. He was napping. Oh. 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 He's such a cutie. Baji's a cutie. Sleepy Baji. Hi Baji. Sleepy Baji, have you tried those buttons to speak with cat? I have not. What is the buttons to speak with cat? I don't think I know. The buttons. Oh, look at Baji's arm. Look at Baji's arm. Baji, you're so cutie. You're such a cute. You're such a cute baja. Hi. Baji and I are holding hands. Little Baji. Yes, little Baji. That's right. What's this? It's a fuzzy. Baji. Treat Sleepy Buttons cat press. Huh. I have to look that up, Heike. I don't know. I don't know about that yet. Oh, baby. You're a good kitty. You're a good boy. Baji's a good boy. Baji's a good boy. Baji's a good boy. Baji's giving me kisses. He wants to hold hands and sleep. He wants to hold hands and sleep. He wants to hold hands. Baji! Baji! Oh, such a cutie! Such a cutie. In Germany, we have cola. Cola for kids? Is that like a drink? Fluent pet buttons. Okay. Oh, and I forgot to say, please subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel and like the live and the videos. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate all your support. Please do subscribe. Yep, but for kids. Oh, so there's a Coca-Cola, but for kids. Wow. Please do like the live and like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Love to see you here. Baji. Yes. Thank you for liking the live. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for liking the live and thank you for subscribing. We appreciate it so very much. Wow. I had no idea there was a Coca-Cola for kids in Germany. Hi, Fuji. I don't know where Suji went. Where are you, Suji? Oh, she's over here. Hi. So we'll resume reading tomorrow. Come join the live so you can catch our live and the kitty cats on the book reading and everything like that. Ah, it's called PSRA, maybe without caffeine. Okay. Wow. Here's Suji. She also drinks water without caffeine so she can get her naps. All right. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow.